Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. What lies ahead, I have no way of knowing. But under my feet, baby, the grass is growing. Yeah, it's time to move on. It's time to get going. Okay, so this is the second video in the series on how I established domicile in South Dakota. I want to say again that I'm not a lawyer and I'm not trying to give legal advice. I'm just trying to chronicle the steps that I took in order to establish domicile in the hope that it will help you in your process of deciding whether you want to change domicile to South Dakota, whether you want to take different steps than I did. It's really meant to give a perspective of someone who already had their feet on the pavement, and hopefully it will be beneficial to you. So here we go. The first step that I delineated is to do your own research and also to gather the documents that you need to. It's very easy to find that information. You can Google setting up domicile if you want. Primarily what you'll have that will come up on that search is going to be mail forwarding services. They're almost all going to be ads. That's fine. I think I found 6. And I know there's 7 possibly that actually do this in South Dakota. There may be more, but I kind of looked at that and I thought, okay, great. That's the first thing I need to figure out what to do. The next thing that would be important, though, is to figure out how mail services actually work and if they're going to provide the services that you need. Next thing is to figure out price. The price based on what I really needed with my domicile with that. And for me, I chose the southwest portion of the state. When I found where the mail forwarder services were, and I started asking people about the mail forwarding services they used, many of them had not been used by people that I talked with, but still had good reviews on Yelp, different platforms like that. But I'd never been to South Dakota. I'm a West Coast boy, and for me, thinking about driving across state is not a big deal. But in South Dakota, it's like you can do it all in one day, but it's kind of a killer. For me to come in from the west, which is what I was doing, it would be quite a trek to go all the way to the east where the majority of the mail forwarding services were. Mail forwarding services that I found, the one that I am using is in Spearfish, which I'll talk more about that later. There's one in Box Elder, which is a kind of a suburb of Rapid City. There's one in Chamberlain, which is more in the middle of the state. And then there are 3 and possibly 4 that are all the way at the southeastern part of the state at Sioux Falls. As I say, the mail forwarding service, even though they'll be sending me my mail, there will be those times where I would rather be in closer proximity to them to walk in and pick up a package. There's a charge for having any kind of mail forwarded to you. I wanted to reduce that as much as I could. You can always start out small, which is what I did. Start out small, start out cheap. And if the service isn't all that you want, you can change it. Yes, it's a process, but you can still change your mail forwarding service. And yes, it messes up everything else as far as your physical address and such and having to go through some other steps. So it really isn't necessarily worth it to change to something better, but you always can. So by taking a look at the websites and taking a look at the Google search results, a list of different documents were shown that were necessary. The main ones that I knew about would be, of course, my current driver's license, my birth certificate, if possible, a passport. And I think the passport takes the place of the birth certificate if you don't have it, but I'm not sure. But those 3 for sure. Your vehicle title. I chose to change my title to South Dakota. So bringing the title, that may be a requirement that you change the title. I'm not sure if you can just register it and leave your title in another state, but I didn't do that. Social Security number, there needs to be proof of that. If you have your Social Security card, that's what they really call for. But if your Social Security number is on a W-2, on a 1099, something like that, that will be acceptable. You do your own research and see what I'm talking about as far as those things that are necessary. And all of my research, first of all, was done online. by Google search than by taking a look at the mail forwarders. And some of the mail forwarders actually list the process that you have to go through. They don't tell you where to do it, but they tell you the process. And that helped me. So when I decided that I was going to stay in the Southwest and actually set up my domicile in Spearfish, I already knew what steps I was going to have to take. And the great thing is that I was able to do it in a total of 2 days. And I'll explain more about why it took 2 days in other videos. But doing your own research is very important. Stand on your own feet. Again, this is not legal advice. This is just what I did. But do your research first so that you have the documents that you need when you come to South Dakota. If you have to wait for someone to send it to you in South Dakota, you're not going to have a mail forwarding service for stuff for people to send to. So they're going to be sending it to general delivery probably, or a UPS store or something like that that's going to cost you money. Better for you to have all of that stuff with you before you go so you can make an informed decision and you have more than what you need in order to get these steps taken care of. Okay, do your own research. We'll go on to the next video. Far away from your trouble.